Hey everybody, this is Corey at the MARZ project, and today I want to talk to you about synthesizers. Synthesizers are more important in music than ever these days, but a lot of people still don't know what they're about or how to use them. I'm hoping to demystify that today with the use of our Korg MS-20 Mini. I'm going to walk you through how it works, how the single flow goes, and hopefully it can help you all start making some music. So here's our synthesizer. This is an analog synth, and like many of the synths of the past, and most analog synths in general, is what we call a subtractive synthesizer. So using these different options with the oscillator, the mixer, and the filters, you can create a pretty interesting sound. These sounds are all fairly static. Press the button, it makes a sound. We can make our synth sounds more interesting by including what's called modulation. So what modulation is basically using special circuits in our synth to adjust some of these parameters that we talked about automatically. And there's two sources of modulation in general and on our synth specifically. There's what's called an LFO and one called an envelope. So what an LFO is it's just like the oscillators that we're using to generate sound, except it operates below the speed at which we can hear frequencies. The lowest frequency we can hear is 20 hertz. So these LFOs waves are moving very slow. You can see this little LED here indicating the speed of our LFO, which is this little module here. The frequency knob determines how fast it's going to go, and the waveform knob determines the shape of the wave. Now on our synth, some of our routing depends on this patch bay here, which is beyond the scope of our video now. So right now we're limited to a variation between a saw to triangle to like a reverse saw wave on our modulation. You'll hear what that means in a second. I'd like to use the LFO right now to modulate the filter. That's probably the most common use of this. I'm going to bring my filter down to where we can hear it working. So I can change the speed at which this LFO works. This is a really common tool to create more interesting evolving synth sounds. Set your LFO to a slow speed and a low amount and let the filter kind of slowly move. So I'd like to start using my LFO to modulate the filter. That's a very common use of this tool. So I'm going to set my filter kind of low so we can hear it in action. You can also do the same thing to the low pass filter, which I'll demonstrate now. Now let me demonstrate the other waveforms. We're using a triangle wave for our modulation, but here's what it sounds like with what we call a ramp down. It starts high and then goes low. You'll hear what I'm talking about right away. We can also get a ramp up. We can also modulate both filters at the same time. It's getting pretty wild, huh? So another common application of the LFO is to adjust the pitch of the oscillators to create like a more evolving or interesting sound of pitch. So I'm going to set it to a triangle wave with a relatively low frequency and dial in a little bit of pitch modulation. you get kind of a vibrato sound like you would get from a flute or a singer or something like that. Thanks for checking out this video. Hope it was informative and that you learned something. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and keep your eyes peeled on this channel for more information. And check us out on Facebook, and maybe we'll see you down here at the MARZ studios one of these days.